esasında biraz özetlemem gerekirse bir panel yaptık. Öğleden sonraki ilk session'ımızda adaptif güvenlik mimarisinden konuştuk. Adaptif güvenlik mimarisinde de özellikle 4 süreçten bahsettik. Prevention, Detection, Response ve Prediction'dan bahsediyor olduk. Detection tarafını tabii biraz önce Akalvio ile deception teknolojisini, yani aldatma teknolojilerinin özellikle tehditleri, bilinmeyen tehditleri nasıl tespit etmemizle ilgili çok detaylar aldık. Çok derinlemesine girdik konuya. Şimdi biraz da Exabeam tarafında devam edelim. Bildiğiniz üzere kullanıcı bazlı aktivite izlemek güvenlik operasyon merkezlerinin en temel problemi haline geldi. Çünkü mevcutta çalıştırdığımız SIEM teknolojilerini, yani SIEM teknolojisinin maalesef korelasyon yeteneklerini kullanıcı bazında zararlı aktivite ya da anormal aktivite izleme konusunda çok ciddi anlamda operasyonel bir güçlük yaşıyoruz. Bu kapsamda Exabeam bize bir çözüm sunuyor. İsmine de, yani genel bir çözüm olarak UEBA teknolojisi diyoruz. Exabeam'in Advanced Analytics ürünü bu kapsamda bize yol gösteriyor. SIEM teknolojimizi nasıl extend ediyoruz, log merkezi olarak bu işi nasıl yapıyoruz, kullanıcı bazlı aktiviteleri nasıl izliyoruz timeline bazlı, bundan bahsediyor olacağız. Ben sözü çok fazla uzatmadan Exabeam Bölge Direktörü Mr. Egon Kando'ya sözü vermek istiyorum. Egon, as we know, UEBA check technology is the best approach to understand user suspicious and malicious activities. Could you present us how Exabeam solutions make the life easier?
Thank you very much. So the idea for this session is to give you a very quick overview about Exabeam, what we do and how we do it, and then to also give you a quick live demo. If you want to go a little bit more deep dive into a demo, there will be another session later today in Salon D, and I can show there a little bit more details. But before that, we are a startup based in California, founded back in 2013, and we decided to help companies solve a lot of problems. So, number one, we want to save you money on logging. That's what our platform offers to you. The most focus for today is to improve threat detection. That's where we'll deep dive a little bit more. And, of course, increase analyst productivity. Now, let's have a look on how the typical security management process with a legacy SIEM looks like today. Customers collect the logs in their log management. They centralize these logs in a SIEM. They have to define their use cases and configure static correlation rules. So they will get alerted on everything that happens and meet the criteria of these correlation rules. Then they get alerted. Now, the next step, and this is a very important step, is to get a broad understanding of the big picture around this alert. So SOC analyst should not only work with such a security alert, he wants to understand the big picture. What happened before that alert, who is involved, which assets have been touched, so the big picture. And by doing this, they will try to search logs that have something in common, like the same username, same IP address, stuff like that. And then they manually build timelines to understand how did this happen on this specific day. By having this understanding, you of course can respond to the attack. Now there are a lot of challenges combined in this process. And the challenges are excessive logging costs. All the SIEM solutions as of today license based on volume. And I bet the log volume will go up year over year because you will onboard new log sources. We will see more and more logs in the next years. So that means for the customers and for you that your bills will go up. This is a big challenge. Also, solutions that are based on static correlation rules cannot catch the unknown threats because you define and you configure on what you want to get alerted. But wouldn't it be nice to say, I don't care how an attacker will behave tomorrow. I want the system to alert me. That would be nice. Also, if an attacker in your network started to do lateral movements or switches accounts, change devices, it's pretty hard to put this puzzle pieces together to understand the big picture. So you will miss this kind of distributed attacks. And then there's the manual investigation. That's a big issue today. In a panel discussion, I tried to explain, if I give a security alert today to 2 or 3 different people, I bet the results will be absolutely different, because humans are not working automatically. Humans have strengths in specific areas, so there will be 3 different responses to such an investigation, and with that, your response to the incident will be incomplete, because you cannot clone people to have the same quality of work. Now, how can Exabeam help you here? We offer you unlimited logging. We don't license based on volume. Most important, we bring something in addition to your existing SIEM, and we help you to secure the invest and get more efficiency out of the invest that you did in your SIEM with putting on top of your SIEM a technology called behavioral analytics to detect the unknown threats you're not able to detect with your existing configured correlation rules. Of course, we fully automatically detect lateral movements. And of course, what we do fully automatically, the whole manual work of the forensics, when you would need to search for all these logs and put them manually together, this is being done fully automatically, and I will show you how that looks like. And by having this, we can also automate response, but we integrate very well in that area with Atar Labs, which is a great solution in addition to this. Now, this is probably the most important thing I tell the customers. If there's something you want to take with you from this session, take this one, smart timelines. It's so important to have a full understanding of a picture if something happened. If there's a technology that gives you the full picture, how did something start, and explains to you all the steps that happened without the need of doing manual forensics. This is what we patented, the smart timeline, session timeline. And our patented session state engine under the hood allows us to tell you at any point in time who has presence on a host, what is the IP address on this host. And by doing this, we can stitch together all the logs into a big picture, even if a user or an attacker switches accounts during his doings during the day. Now, here's the difference. Sophisticated attacks today contain what we call lateral movements or account switches. And here on the left side, you see how the picture looks like today. A SOC analyst will try to stitch together in chronology these logs to understand how this could happen and what is affected. Now, if an attacker switches accounts, we start with an account Barbara Salazar, an example, and during the day, Barbara Salazar switches accounts to another account called the DB admin. Now, if a SOC analyst wants to understand the full scope of this attack, he might miss exactly that point when this user switched accounts. So you will not see the followed activities because it's part of another session of another user. The user is called DB admin, and you will only look for logs that contain the user name B. Salazar. Now, what Exabeam does, based on our patented technology, is stitch together all these activities to one single session timeline, showing you exactly the point when the user switched accounts, and this works fully automatically. Here's the reality. This is how logs look like. You have different log sources. Log source 1 provides you probably the name of the user and maybe the name of the device, but no IP address. Log source number 2 will provide you probably IP address and the device name, but no information about the username. And you see, this is really hard manual work to try to add this context, and this needs to be done manually. And you will have to do this all day. The SOC analyst needs to do this all day in order to hopefully get the full picture. Now, you can't get this solved automatically by Exabeam because that's our technology, that's what we do. We add this missing part to the log sources and put everything together to a big picture. With that, we can automate and save you a lot of time. usually when customers ask me, why should Exabeam be at the top priority of my projects list? I usually ask back, who has more projects in security in his company than he can handle? And probably everybody. You have more projects than you can handle. Now here's how we can help. We can automate and give your team back a lot of time. So all the steps that they would do manually, we can fully automate. So things that you would do in hours or days, you will have presented in a GUI within seconds. We used to say security management should start with a smart timeline that provides you the full picture and all the answers. Create a timeline, enrich the context, so fill in all the gaps that are missing in the log sources and not being needed to do that manually. Then learn the behavior. It's so important to understand in every customer-specific network what is the normal behavior. You can only act or react on an anomaly if you understand what is normal. So our solution is based on machine learning and based on models, not on static rules. We have some fact-based rules, but the majority, over 90%, is based on machine learning and models under the hood. So the system learns what is normal for every user, for your peer groups, and for your network. Then identify anomalies, add the risk score to it, visualize it in the session timeline so everybody, even a SOC level 1 analyst, can understand the full picture, and then you have everything that you need to do a correct response. Now let me show you how this looks like in 5 minutes, if I can switch my screen. This is a typical dashboard, and it's probably very intuitive. You see some names, you see some assets, and some statistics from the network. You see we detected with these logs in this environment 448 anomalies. I don't care about these anomalies. The most important thing for you is to see how many of them you should focus on, and this is exactly 8. So out of 448 anomalies, 8 you should follow up on, and 3 assets. Now, if you want to understand what happened here, it's very simple. You don't have to configure anything. This is what our machine learning learned under the hood. So, an example, I click here on this risk score. A user only appears on this dashboard if his risk score is above 90. Otherwise, you don't have to waste your time with it. If you want to understand what Barbara did, click on it. Exabeam immediately models the session timeline for Barbara on this specific day. And now you can read through this like a book. You see, she dialed in from via VPN from the Ukraine. But Exabeam already knows that's part of a profile that she never was in the Ukraine before. And I can show that, I can state that to you. Here's how Exabeam models under the hood what you did. 100% from the United States. Now it's the first time from the Ukraine, that's why we add risk points, and now you understand that this is an anomaly. And you can run through all these things to understand all these anomalies. She's using for the first time a device she never used. This device has never been seen in the whole organization before. She's coming from an IP address that I never saw before. And then she starts what we call lateral movements. She has first access to this asset, abnormal access to this asset. And here is the funny thing. Now she switches accounts. She's no longer working under the account B. Salazar. This is exactly the point where a SOC analyst probably will lose the track. But we follow her, and it's presented automatically to you to see what you did. She accesses here. It's the first time she made this credential switch, so we add risk points, and we alert you immediately that something is very wrong on this day with Barbara Salazar. She gets notable, and you will have a full understanding that she, in this case, she accessed the payroll, she did a copy of the payroll, and she sent it out via fileshare.com. Now, the nice thing is that we have the capability to also add to this timeline the alerts from third-party vendors. So the invest that you already did in your antivirus, in your firewall, in your proxy, you will find these alerts in a session timeline, and Exabeam will show you what happened before, what happened after. This is the full picture. Any questions so far? No questions. Then let me ask you. Let me ask a question, because I have a Bluetooth speaker, and the one who answers correctly will get this Bluetooth speaker from me.
That's
so
great.
What needs to happen for a user to appear on this dashboard? What is the threshold that needs? 90. 90. You were the first one. Congratulations, that's correct.
Thank you very much. Tebrikler. Egon, actually, the latest one, I would like to a quick question for you.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, first of all. Actually, we understood that Exabeam Advanced Analytics integrates with existing SIEM technologies, by the way. But what are the operational benefits for doing more with less, for example? What's that?
Yes, absolutely. So I tried to explain today that everything that your SOC analysts and your security teams do today manually, you already have invested in SIEM, you have the logs in SIEM. So what we do is we use the logs from your SIEM, we sit on top of your SIEM, and we'll automate these manual processes. That means for you, number one, increase in efficiency. Everything that, on every single alert where you spend probably, I don't know, an hour, 5 hours, or maybe sophisticated attacks, probably days, that will be done in seconds. That's increase in efficiency, dramatic increase in efficiency. Number two is detecting the unknown unknowns. You cannot detect with static correlation rules unknown attacks, because you need to define the use cases, you need to write correlation rules, and this correlation rule will alert you only if these things happen. Now, Exabeam closes this gap. I don't care how the attacker will behave tomorrow. I know he will behave different, he will behave risky, he will behave abnormal, and that's what Exabeam detects. So it absolutely integrates with your SIEM solution, it closes gaps, and it increases efficiency. You can do more with less. We help you to give time back to your teams to also concentrate and focus on additional projects, because I'm sure you have a lot of security projects.
Okay. Çok teşekkürler. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Ammar'la devam edeceğiz. Vectra seansımıza hiç vakit kaybetmeden. Egon, thank you very much for your presentation, for your attending.
For the other session.